Well, I don't know if anybody's going to be hopping on here. I'll keep this relatively short, 20 minutes, anyways. So, as far as my bookings, I'm fully booked into mid May now, and a couple people inbox me, but if you haven't paid, I try to reserve time for you for a little bit to book, but if you haven't booked, it's okay. It's just be understanding because other people have paid, I will go to them first. In that case, so what have I been up to? Yeah, I'm busy doing that. I'm planning on making a few videos on my playlist on my YouTube. Go through that if there's something you want to watch. My playlist, there's sections such as Spiritismo, Voodoo, African spirituality, respect, which goes into more like the cultural aspect of relationships with each other and in developing ourselves as people and relationship with your godparents and things like that. And just respecting the traditions and things like that. Of course, I finished my Kardec Mediums book series, narrated all of that on my channel. So that's just some things for you guys to check out besides my other projects. And I posted on my page, Facebook page, about the Haitian flu shot, and they add some things in like condensed milk or egg and stuff. Maybe my Dominican people can chime in more, but I don't think they put the egg and the milk in there. I think they just put the um, rum or whiskey, the garlic, onion, aloe vera mixture with ginger. But on my blog, I talked previously before about Mama Wana. I'll just write how you spell it. And you can buy kits, herb kits. Hey, Lemuel. Hope you're keeping safe in New York. Um, and I have one coming to my house. There's a good deal on Amazon right now. But when I go to the Botanicas, I try to pick up herbs and things here and there on my travels that I know I'm gonna need. So I pretty much already had a lot of the ingredients to make my own. I'm just missing a few things that I would put in my recipe, although people make it differently. And I listed a whole bunch. So I didn't have Pegapalo, which is hitting stick, and I didn't have Tamacle, which I don't know how to say it. Timacle, which is not necessarily a main ingredient in the recipe I use anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But so I had mostly everything. So I started this starter mix, and so this is a native Arawak Taino drink, uh, Kamamawana. It's known in Dominican Republic as like a cultural tourist drink or aphrodisiac, but it's good for anti-cancer and rheumatoid, arthritis, achy joints, against diabetes. It's basically like a health tonic, but cold and flu too. So you can see it's like nice and brown. I think it's only been in there for like maybe 3-4 days. Normally we would bury this for a little bit when it's ready to go, but I haven't put honey in here yet. And a lot of people do the first soak of the herbs and roots just with hot water because they don't want to waste rum. But this is all rum, so I'll probably pour out or use as a first dredge of medicine, maybe like this much, and then some people dump the whole thing out, but I didn't soak in water first. I just did rum, and that's kind of a waste. So I'm gonna add in maybe like this much red wine after I take the rum out, use it or dump it. Red wine and honey. Um, so I did put a few things in here that normally is not associated with this recipe, just some things I had and I was led to add to this. So I did stick to some of the ingredients I had, which is part of the original recipe. Is I already had collected anamu, which is known as Congo weed, and you can use roots or leaves. And the Mexican store here, just down a couple blocks, on the main drag here, carries it, Congo or Anamu, and that's known as anti-cancer. Some children of Yamaya can't use it. But and then Palo Brazil, I do have that in here. That's anti-diabetes. Cinnamon sticks I did put in here. I put the star anise. I only put like 1.5 because I don't really like the licorice taste. I did put that in here. Cat's claw, uno de gato. Um, I did have, so I put some in here, and cloves. I think that's not normally in here, but it was in the recipe that I inherited, so I did put a few in here. And then I added what's not normally typically put in here. I added uh, a stick of Palo Santo. You can see right there. Normally people use it for incense and for smudging, but Palo Santo also has very, you can see it's this big things. Licorice root's an adaptogen, especially for women, and plays a part with their estrogen. So that's how I changed this recipe a little bit for this bottle. And then put the wine and the honey, and then I'll probably end up burying it in the next tea set bag. I'm gonna get, maybe I'll make another bottle with it. So I've been doing that. We can use it for offerings for our some of our Indio spirits, as well as I mainly made this for health, basically. So that's what I've been up to. If you want to know how to make this, um, I made a blog post quite a while ago. I have really not updated my blog. Um, so who else is here? Maurizio's watching. Second. Sorry, smoker's cough. Oh, really? I didn't see myself lag. The licorice root is an adaptogen, and it's used a lot in Chinese medicine for people with immune uh, system problems. Um, a lot of people are prescribed licorice root, so I wanted to add that in there with the Palo Santo. It's normally not added in this type of recipe, but I felt like adding it. And instead of just making Palo Santo rum, why not separately? Why not just make my little health concoction here? And then that's on my blog. If you guys want to know how to make it. So, is it better now? Am I still a laggy? Anybody want to ask any questions? It doesn't have to be related to what I'm talking about either. It's cool, or whatever. Um, but this is gonna be quick. So, basically the title is just some updates what I gave you guys, and then um, usually I do investigations for the dead, and some people want a specific family member or loved one to come through who's passed over, and at times that's happened, but I generally just let whoever dead wants to come through and speak for you to do that. That doesn't mean that they're not around you. It doesn't mean that they don't care about you. Just because you can't communicate with a specific dead person, there's spiritual laws to this. Cool, thanks, Lemuel. There's spiritual laws to this, like how long they've been dead, how they died, if they're at rest, etc. And it's individualized. Um, and then if you, it's a lot of information. I mean, people are coming to as a consumer to buy what they want, but it doesn't actually really work 100% the way that it's put on TV shows and stuff like that. That you want to book with, say, this medium, celebrity medium. You go there and you get messages from family members, and it's all wonderful and all that, right? And only once I've seen this particular celebrity medium I have in my mind right now say, "Oh, there's too much negative," or "I'm not getting into the circumstances of his death right now, for personal safety reasons," or whatever. They just shut it down. And I'm not one to withhold information, but you have to. There's at risk as a reader when you take certain cases. For example, forensic cases, if someone's body has never been found, or the person was it's a suspected that there was foul play, or the person's missing, or the person's murdered, if a medium say does perchance end up giving clues and things that could lead to the finding of that body, and many law enforcement and families, it's usually at the behest of the family when there's a lot of cold cases, will involve a medium. um, there's some very famous, very good forensic mediums. um, they could look at you as a suspect because I mean, the killer knows where the body is. And so, how could, even if the police agencies accept, and they're usually protected at the behest of the family, but I mean, people are emotional, things can happen. They might start investigating the medium for a murder case because how could you know where that person was buried, etc. Like, they might just not view a medium as possible, or maybe they do, but they have to now consider you a suspect. I'm not saying that that's the case of anything I'm dealing with or anything, but um, some people have contacted me to talk to specific family members. A few of those deaths could maybe be suspicious or not. Um, One thing is grief is that um, there's no time period for grief even after 2 years, especially if you don't have that closure with these certain type of cases I'm talking about. So you have to, it's very delicate with dealing with people because they want closure. And so you are profiting off of a death in somebody's family and somebody's grief. And so I kind of had to wrap my head around what I want to charge for this type of services and my own ethics. And in the end, it's in my ita that I cannot do work for free, or I should not do work for free. And there's certain things like when you deal with certain energies, like then we have to then clean ourselves of those energies. Or if there is a problem or spiritual problem, now I have a problem because I'm involving myself in other people's problems. I do like to reward my spirits, and even going and buying flowers at minimum here, $7. So what I've considered to do is with these types of cases work in small sessions for a reduced rate than I would normally charge to contact a spirit, because there's no guarantee that I'm just going to be able to call up a dead person. Oh, I want to talk to Abraham Lincoln. Okay, Bree, reduced rate. I want you to do a couple sessions, or just call up Abraham Lincoln. I want to talk to him. It doesn't work like that because you have to have a deep spiritual reason, or like a deep love between two people that would attract the spirit there. So it's better in person. If you did listen to all my whole Kardec videos, um, the spirits are attracted by the love they had in life and the sympathy. So it's better that the person is there coming to misas for that to happen. Just calling you over the phone and someone's by distance bridges the gap a little bit, but that person's not physically there, so the spirit has less of an interest in talking to me, for example. And I have to check up on where they're at in the afterlife. Um, Sometimes they cannot come for whatever reason. Sometimes they choose not to come. And so for this one client, they said that they had paid mediums before, but they don't really feel like they're actually talking to their family member. And that's because we cannot just call them up, and people need to be a little bit more honest that it's not 1-800 dial a morto. Like, we don't force them to come. So that's my little session on that. Just because I saw other people had a interview, and the interview was titled "Connection in Crisis," and my question to these spiritualists was, "What would you say to a client who was looking to hire a medium to talk to a specific morto?" And I never really got to the base of what I was looking to explore, which is that yes, we do have to provide some evidence was the answer that the interview came up with, but um, we can't just in one session you call me on the phone and I can just talk to whoever. I can talk to Abraham Lincoln. It doesn't work like that. So um, maybe the spirit needs elevations. Maybe they need healing. Maybe they don't even know they're dead. Maybe they're sleeping. They're in some kind of stupor, some kind of amnesic state. Um, there's lots of things that can go into that. So, um, what helps also is connecting with something that they, like an object or something that they really cared about. So the question I asked was like, give me like where they're born or their last seen, what their birth date was, but give me something that was very important to them, like a red wagon growing up, or they had yeah 1-800 Dial Morto, or they had a favorite like a Mustang. They had a car that they worked on, that they worked summer jobs, they loved. They went to car shows. That was their baby, their life, or whatever. Like something like it's trivial and material, but it gives me something that is specific to that person that I can hold on to. Because if you just say, oh, um, Bobby and Mikey and Shelly were the most important thing to them. Well, I don't know a Bobby or a Mikey or a Shelly. Now I'm having to channel some incarnated people to try to get to a dead person. No, I need something like concrete to attach to that person, other than another person. I know that people don't really get the technicals of like what I work with. It doesn't make me any less of a medium because I can't just call up Abraham Lincoln. It makes me an honest one. Um, so that's my thoughts on that. If you're looking to call up a specific family member, and just be open to the messages you receive because you could get other family members wanting to come through or other information. Maybe it's not what you're looking for. Um, but there's lots of things we can do. We can do dowsing on area maps. Um, there's lots of ways that we can look into like evidence based investigative mediums or forensic mediums. It's not a lot of work I've really done before, because I'm more on like the religious side of things and people wanting to develop their spiritual courts and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean I can't do it because the dead are the dead. It's just that um, it's permission based too. Like maybe you don't have permission to call them. It just there's so many different reasons why the dead can't come around right now. And just because, again, just because you can't see them, just because you can't talk them, just because you're like, why did this person not come in my dreams? It doesn't mean that they're not standing right beside you right now. They could be standing right beside you right now. And I get it, like you miss them, you want to connect with them. But I think that's the biggest thing I have to tell you guys is just because you can't see them, just because you can't talk to them, I know you miss them, but that doesn't mean they don't love you, and that doesn't mean that they're not with you guys. So, with that being said, I think I'll end this video. It's right around 20 minutes like I wanted. Um, like I said, that doesn't mean that it's not possible. It doesn't mean that there's not mediums out there that are very talented who can maybe specialize in this. But that's why you find a lot of readings are very generalized, or maybe you don't feel like you're talking to that person because it's a lot harder to be like, I want to talk to the specific dead right now is a lot more difficult than just allowing who's available and for their guides or someone more elevated who's not in trouble or whatever it is to come through. So it's not really an excuse. It would take multiple sessions, like I said. So if someone's willing to work with you and that seems like acceptable to you, then great. That's how I work at it. And a lot of people will say that they can just do that, but it goes against the Kardec principles of um, spirits that are more intelligent, that are more elevated at higher levels of different spiritual power. are able to do more. So if someone's more recently dead, it takes time to elevate. It takes time to reorientate yourself where you're at, where you're going, go to certain places, do certain tasks, rest. There's lots of reasons we don't contact the dead within the 1 year, thanks, of them dying. That we have certain beliefs on that, and there's other cultural beliefs on that. And partly just for your own grieving. When people are in a state of grieving, are you really open and ready to listen to those messages? How emotional, what emotional and mental state the client is in, I think should be addressed and looked at before you take some of these cases. And it's just something I'm kind of tossing around at the moment because I've had some inquiries. So yeah, it's my PSA on talking to hiring a medium to talk to a specific loved one. Okay, good night, guys.